Hi, I'm BJ Posnecki. In today's video, I'm going to show you guys how to replace your thermostat. So there could be a little bit of a variance on wiring depending on what kind of thermostat you go with. If you go with, a Nest or an Ecobee, sometimes there may be a little bit of a difference in the wiring, so you may still have to take a look at the instructions. But this video will get you through on how to change out most of the thermostats that you're going to encounter out there. Before we remove the thermostat, go down to your furnace and turn it off, or if you don't have a service switch at your furnace, you could turn it off at the circuit breaker. Typically, these thermostats usually just pull directly towards you. Sometimes you may need to pull from the bottom, as there's a hinge on the top there where you have to pull from the bottom and then up, but this one just pulls directly out towards us. Before disconnecting any of these wires, I want you to take a picture of exactly what's going on here, because the letters do not always correlate with the color wire. I mean, we got G for green. We got a green wire on G. We've got a white wire on W, but then we've got a blue wire on the Y terminal, and then we've got a red on the red that has a little jumper here. So make sure when we're installing your new thermostat that you have this jumper from R to RC here. Whatever you have here is what we want to replicate with the new thermostat, because this way it works properly with heat and air conditioning. You're going to need a flat blade eyeglass screwdriver, something small enough to get inside the terminal block here. And we're going to disconnect all of these wires. Just loosen the screws enough so that we can get the wire out. Take any screws that are holding the plate onto the wall. Pull the wires out from the terminal block and remove this back panel. Your new thermostat should come with these little sticker labels. Now you want to use these and label what terminal the wire was on, not the color. So in this situation, I only did the blue because the blue was on Y. Everything else, red was R, green was at G, and white was on W. If you're installing a thermostat that's similar to the one that you have, and it has one of these larger plates, you may want to keep it if you can, just because if you have a different paint or there's damage around here, at least this cover plate will cover that. Sometimes when you go with something smaller, you may have to touch up the wall where this plate was. For this video, I'm just going to install something similar to what we had because I didn't want to have to paint or fix the wall or anything. So I just picked out the newer version of what we had, which is the Honeywell Smart Thermostat, where it connects to the Wi-Fi. We're going to put our cover plate and the back plate that the thermostat attaches to back on. Now I got lucky because this new thermostat is similar to the old one, so this rear plate will still work. So we're going to go ahead and screw this to the wall. Be careful not to accidentally push your wires into the wall. If you have a torpedo level, go ahead and put it on top just to make sure we are nice and level, and give it just a snug on the screws. I don't need to crank them down because you'll strip the anchors behind. This is where, when we're putting the wires back together, that there's going to be a little bit of a change, because the new thermostat that we're installing has Wi-Fi capability. So we're going to put all of our wires back like they were. However, we're going to use this green wire is actually going to go on the C terminal. Now, the only thing that's going to change, this works for gas and propane heaters. If you have heat pumps, oil, there's going to be a little difference. You're going to have to read the instructions on your thermostat you're installing. The only thing that's going to change now, being that we're going to be using this green wire and taking it from the green terminal to the C, is that the fan function won't work. So the fan function is when you put everything back on, if you wanted to turn just the fan on, just to get airflow throughout the house, you're going to lose that function unless you have other wires that you can use as the C terminal. But that would entail wiring it at the furnace as well, which a lot of times you don't have that extra wire. So for today's video, we're going to take the green and go to the C terminal. I'm going to get my wires in location and then put them in the terminal block where they go. So we're going to start with red. Put that at the R. We'll loosen up our screw, get our wire in, push the wire all the way down to where it stops at the insulation, and we're going to go ahead and turn and tighten that up. I'm going to go ahead and tighten up the RC because it has the jumper wire in here, so I just want to make sure everything's nice and tight. Like I said, green is going to go to the C terminal. Our white, I go to the W. Blue, which is Y. Make sure all our wires are snug. Go ahead and we'll push them back in behind our cover plate or our rear plate. If you changed to a Wi-Fi thermostat like we did today, and we moved the green wire from G to C, now we have to go to your furnace and do the same there and make a couple of modifications. Open up your furnace by removing the cover screws. Remove the lower panel door with a nut driver or whatever screws you have there. At the circuit board here, what we're going to do is we're going to take the green wire and we're going to move that to the C terminal. Now there's a couple other wires coming into the C terminal, so when we put the green wire with these two white wires, just make sure that when we put all our wires back in here, we tighten it up, that everything is connected. This part can be a little tricky because, like, if you have a situation like I did, I had two white wires, so I moved the white wires together on the one side of this screw, and then I got my green wire on the other side. And then what I did was, because you really got to tighten this down good, is I put my fingers behind the circuit board here just to support it and pull. I kind of pull towards me while I'm pushing the screwdriver into the screw to get a nice tight connection, and then just pull the wires, give them a good pull to make sure that they're nice and tight. Very important that they got a good solid connection. You should have, with your new thermostat, got a little jumper wire like you see here, and we're going to connect this to the Y and the G terminal. Same thing that we did with the other wires. We're going to put the jumper wire in the Y and then come over into the G. So we got a couple wires coming into Y here. We're going to make sure that those stay together, and we'll put our jumper wire on the other side of the screw and then run it over to the G terminal. Hold your jumper wire into a U so that this way it's easy to stick up into these terminals. Once you get your jumper wire in G and Y, get it all tightened down, give everything a good pull again, make sure we got a good connection. We're done here at the furnace, so you can go ahead and put the blower cover doors back on. We're done with all our wiring, so at this time, if you want to go ahead while you're at the furnace, go ahead and turn the service switch back on, or if you turned it off at the circuit breaker, go ahead and flip the circuit breaker back on. Install the thermostat by lining up these tabs with the notches in the back of the thermostat. Just go lightly, kind of get it in place, because we want to make sure that these pins line up with the terminal blocks. So we're going to go nice and easy. We're going to go light, push it so that it's flush on all four corners, and then go ahead and give it a good push where it snaps in. Once you push the thermostat back on, it should power up. And at this point now you can go ahead and set the time, do any programs that you want, connect it to your Wi-Fi. That's all going to vary depending on what brand thermostat you bought. So at this point, I would just recommend that you read the instructions, because that's going to be a little bit different for each thermostat. I hope you guys liked the video and found it helpful. If you did, please like and subscribe, and we'll see you in the next one.